Want to create a professional quality soccer poster in just a few easy steps? In this short tutorial, I'll show you how to design a stunning poster from scratch, perfect for beginners. Stick around to learn quick tips and techniques that you can use on any future Photoshop project as well. Start with a plain white background. The first step is going to be to place a soccer field into the image. Any field will do, so I'm going to go up here and choose File, Place Embedded. Then I'll choose my soccer field that I have saved on my computer and click OK. Use the bounding box to resize or reposition. If you don't have this bounding box, click Ctrl T on your keyboard and you'll get it. Now we'll create this painted effect that you see in the background. Create a new layer by clicking on the box with the plus sign in it. Name this layer anything you like by double-clicking on the words. With your foreground color set to black, select your brush tool, or B for brush on the keyboard. Then click on this icon to choose the type of brush that you want to use. Here you can choose from different brush shapes, which are displayed down below. I'm going to choose this one. So here's what the shape of this brush looks like. You can make it larger by clicking on the right bracket key on your keyboard and smaller by clicking on the left bracket key. You can also grab this arrow and turn it around so that it faces the other direction. So I'm just going to click and drag, and then maybe I'll turn it around the other direction and do the same thing. Just click and drag, and then you can just keep playing with this until it looks how you want it to look in your image. Next, click on your soccer field layer and drag that to the top. Now right-click on this layer and choose Clipping Mask. Now the soccer field layer is clipped to the brush layer so that it only shows up where we brushed our pattern in. You can edit the size of this pattern as well. So just click back on the brush pattern layer, and with Ctrl T, you can either hold down the Shift key and just resize, stretch one side at a time, or if you let go of the Shift key, you can resize the entire thing overall. So again, you can just move it around and resize until it looks good to you. Make sure you leave a little bit of space in that upper left-hand corner because we're going to be putting some text there later. Now we're going to position the players. So with your top row active, go to File, Place Embedded, and choose your file with one of your players. You might recognize Messi. He's going to be my first player. I've already cut him out of his background, which I'll show you how to do in just a minute. I'm going to click the check mark. Now, before you resize anything, you want to make sure it's a smart object. So right-click on the layer and select Convert to Smart Object. This will prevent your image from becoming pixelated when you resize it. Now with Ctrl T on the keyboard, I'll just resize and position him where I want him to be placed. Now I'll place player number 2. So again, File, Place Embedded. Now this player hasn't been extracted from the background yet, so I'll show you how to do that. Choose your quick selection tool and then come up here and click the drop down next to Select Subject and choose Cloud. That'll give you a neater, more accurate selection. Then click on Select Subject and then select Ctrl J on your keyboard to put him on his own layer. Now you can get rid of the original layer with the background by just simply dragging it to the trash can. Grab the Move tool and just place him roughly where you think you might want him in the image. I want him to be behind player number 1 in this scene, so I'm going to click on the layer with my current player number 2 and just drag him underneath player number 1. Now he's behind him in the scene. With the top layer active, I'm going to place player number 3. Again, Ctrl T to resize and reposition. Remember, if yours is not a smart object, right-click on the layer and select Convert to Smart Object before you resize. That way it won't become pixelated as you make it bigger. Again, to put him on his own background, go to the Quick Selection tool, select Cloud in the drop-down, click on Select Subject, Ctrl J to put him on his own layer, and then delete the original background. Then grab the Move tool, place him where you want him roughly, and again, I want him to be behind player number 1, so I'm going to click on his layer and drag it underneath player number 1. Now, after a few size and placement adjustments, I'm going to show you how to make the lighting look right. I'll start by adjusting the lighting on Mr. Messi here, so I'm going to do a Curves Adjustment layer, bring up the midtones, and I only want this to affect him, so again, I'm going to do a Clipping Mask by clicking right here. Now you can see it's only affecting player number 1. I need to create more contrast. To do this, I'll bring the black slider in so that he matches a little better with the other players. Same thing with player number 3. I'm going to create a curves adjustment layer right above him on the layers panel. And again, I'll bring up the midtones to increase the brightness on his face and also increase the contrast by bringing in that black slider, again with that clipping mask. Now we need the soccer ball. So again, I'm just going to go to File, Place Embedded, and I have this soccer ball saved on my computer. So I'll place it and make any adjustments needed for size and placement. Now with the top layer selected, you can come down here and create a new layer to make more brush patterns. To change the color, just click on your foreground color, select any color from the image that you want, click OK, select a new brush if you want. I'm going to select this brush that looks like a splatter, and you can just use your own creativity to make this look however you want with whatever colors you want. I'm going to come down here and toggle to my background layer, select that, and choose a color that's similar to this guy's shirt. So just clicking inside his shirt to select that color. Now I'm using my bracket keys again to resize. Now, if you want to create a brush stroke behind a player, all you have to do is create a new layer underneath that player's layer, and then you can do your brush stroke and it'll show up underneath that player. So I'm just going to continue doing brush strokes until I like what I see. At some point in this process, I lost my original poster, so I had to restart in the middle. So you'll notice in just a second that the poster looks a little different. I had to completely start it over. But that ended up being a good thing because now you're going to learn the easiest way to make shadows, which wasn't going to be a part of it originally. There it is. In this version, my soccer ball is higher, so we need to create a shadow underneath. I'll show you how to do that. Create a new layer underneath the soccer ball layer. Make sure your foreground color is black. Select the brush tool, use your bracket keys to resize, and just swipe underneath. Here's a before and after. It's very subtle, but it makes it look a lot more realistic. You can also do the same under the player's feet to make it look more natural. Now for the text. Click on the text tool, and up here you can select what color you want to use. I'm going to select one of the colors from my image just by clicking around to choose one. Here's where you can choose your font and your font size. Now I'll just click back into the image and start typing. If you want to change your color, double click on the layer itself, click back into the color picker, and choose a different color. You can also use Ctrl-T to move or resize. I'm going to use the same process to create a second layer of text.